Should I start?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, welcome back everyone to our little show.
No,
The fourth.
episode 4.
Episode 4. Sorry for the delay. This is we just had some life stuff happen, but everything's pretty good, you know. We went to this Vietnamese place and they gave us fortune cookies, so we're gonna open them up and let's see what we've got. Yeah. Okay. What do you got?
So mine says no, that's the French side. I can't read French.
We're in Canada, by the way.
Yeah, good things come to those who wait. Be patient. Wow. Wow.
You know, I used to think that with the girl I was seeing. Turns out it isn't always true. Now this is good. Use your charm and your personality to your advantage.
Yes.
You know, I used to think fortune cookies were kind of a scam, but it's kind of on the money here. Who knew?
It's so generic. That's like telling you to look both ways while crossing the street. Like, if that's
Equally good advice. Equally good advice.
yeah, common sense is good advice.
Exactly.
Well,
If we think about it, the world doesn't have enough common sense, you know? At least at this stage.
like, it doesn't even tell your fortune. It just gives you some random advice.
Yeah. But hey, as long as it makes you feel good, right? I mean, that's kind of the point of it.
Okay, anyways, what are you talking about today? Life purpose and Jordan Peterson, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of the fanboy here. I've been kind of listening to him on the bus, and he says a lot of interesting stuff. Like, it's a bit of a tricky journey sometimes, like with the way he phrases things and kind of the message he likes to kind of get across. He does it in sometimes a vague or very wordy way, but like most of the stuff he says I agree with. What is that thing, man?
It's very annoying. I don't.
What does it do? Why does it? The engine's off. Why does it?
It is off. It's the dash cam. Is from China, obviously, and
Don't need to tell me that, man.
it's just cheap. And even when you turn the engine off, it just fucking gives you a warning that's like, oh, it's recording, or like it's into like sort of surveillance mode or whatever.
Okay.
It never shuts the fuck up.
I've noticed that. It's
Like when you're it's already like that when the engine's off, and when it's on, it's even worse.
oh shit, man.
I don't really like recording in this car at all.
Well, it is what it is, right? Welcome to the Corolla. Anyway, yeah, Jordan Peterson, he says a lot of interesting things, a lot of stuff I agree with. From what I can salvage, he likes to focus on more traditional and more grounded values, and he's like he sort of helps people find, like especially young people, find their purpose and their meaning in life in a world that's doesn't really give you a clear moral compass or a sense of who you are. Having that little voice in the storm can be very helpful, especially for people like us who are still finding our way. So I just like to, you know, I do recommend checking him out. You know, he's got a lot of good stuff out there.
So how has he helped you? Like, what have you learned?
Oh well, I've learned like a lot of good things from him.
Like practical stuff, things that you can
Practical
actually
stuff.
apply
Okay, that's fair.
from Jordan Peterson. Yeah.
Well, in terms of like practical advice, I haven't, like, I've just sort of started listening to him, so I haven't learned a lot, but like the vibe that I get from him is that you really want to focus on achieving your own goals and pursuing an objective that is higher than yourself, and to give yourself up to that objective and to not be so caught up in, self pleasure, or being really like letting others take advantage of you, or trying to people please, or to chase your own desires, but to focus on something that is greater than yourself, like having an overarching purpose in order to guide you in life. And having that sense of direction really helps you make clear decisions and not feel lost. So, and I do find that quite useful in dealing with people and dealing with sort of like procrastination, laziness. Like having that clear goal really helps,
That's a lot of areas that he covers.
He covers a ton of stuff, yeah. A lot of it comes from like more ancient writings like the Bible, talking about Judas or the journey of Jesus, or talking about the Tower of Babel, like all of those things. Also, like talking about Lucifer and, bringing that kind of those ancient texts and applying them to the real world. There's a lot of interesting like overlap that I think is really quite fascinating to me.
So using the tower, the Babel Tower, as an example, because you like.
Yeah, we did hash this out in the cafe, right?
Go deeper into it.
All right. Well, essentially what he said, or how I understood it rather, because I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's sort of like an idea that when the overarching authority and the system of society is fragmented and in chaos, in a Tower of Babel, that is represented by a giant red beast with many heads, and it's a hydra basically. So in that story, that's the hydra, and that represents kind of our government and our society at the moment. And at the back of this giant red beast is it's an explicit word, but he says something like the mother of all prostitutes is riding on the back of this beast. And basically that's an analogy for like the way that we've sort of been treating sexuality as like an outlet to escape from this world, and how basically none of the rules apply anymore. Like sort of nothing is sacred, because like obviously things in this world have been very challenging over the past few decades, and a lot of the norms and rules that have been established over the past hundreds of years or so are being challenged now, and a lot of it is being overthrown. So like we turn to sexual gratification through stuff like OnlyFans or online pornography and stuff like that to satiate our desire for something that we can't have in real life, and we feel perfectly okay with doing that because everything is already in chaos and all of the norms are being challenged, so this should be no worse. And so that's what the lady on the back of the beast represents. And essentially it's very distressing, but the point is that sexuality turns into this perverse and perverted and misused thing to satisfy our base pleasures, and during times of crisis. And I see that going on today. Like there's definitely a lot of overlap there.
And earlier I mentioned from my perspective is, so the world is going to shit, and that plus people not believing that they can achieve or meet sort of, I guess, higher level of needs or desires, talking about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs again. We basically go back to the bottom needs of like food, sex, security. It's like very primal needs because like the other stuff like self-actualization, following your passion, contributing to society or whatever is like there's no point. There's no point doing that, or like it's just so far out of reach that it's not even worth going toward. So people fall into just hedonism because it's more easily accessed. So I even for me, I'm definitely indulging in food and porn, and that's low. My personal experience is like I am sort of sinking into like the bottom sort of basic needs for a long period. I have been doing that because I personally don't believe I can like go any further up the hierarchy of needs, sort of like doing more with my life. And then I've thought about how that sort of ties into like the sins, like 7 deadly sins, or basically like gluttony or lust or pride. Even all those things are trying to get you to do the deeds of and like mindless consumerism or hedonism, whatever you're doing that they call sins. You're basically trying to meet a need that's
That can't be fulfilled.
that can't be fulfilled. That's more like positive, sort of. It's like the sins are like the shadow side of desire. It's like whatever you do on this side is like the shadow stuff, like the bad quote unquote addictions, hedonism. But what you're actually trying to meet is like the needs of like achievement, love, sort of self-actualization, contributing to society, or having a sense of purpose. But instead of going directly to meeting those needs, you sort of go for a cheaper substitute of lust, gluttony, pride, consumerism, whatever.
All the deadly sins.
Yeah, all the deadly sins.
Yeah, so are you saying in a way that like we're forfeiting our higher callings because we've given up on them due to the dire circumstances of our society and replace them with things that are easier to achieve and give more instant gratification?
So that, and then the stuff that's more easily accessible, like sex, porn, food, whatever. Buying a lot of shit.
That's very easy to do.
It is, but it's not meeting the same need.
No. But
like,
we're helpless to do otherwise, right?
But well, we believe that it's like impossible to go the other way.
Exactly.
Of going directly to the actual desire. That's why we don't feel fulfilled every time we do these other things, because that's not what you wanted to begin with. Deep down, you wanted like the stuff on this side.
Yeah, but things seem so futile, and perhaps we don't have the guidance that we really need in these dark times, and that's why a lot of people have turned to role models online, because they don't have that in their household. Some people have grown up with a family that doesn't have any real role models, and so some of them might turn to the internet. And the internet, like, it's a very mixed place, because there's definitely a lot of, like, there's definitely some people on there who are genuinely caring and who want to help people, but then there's a lot of people also who just, want to like troll or they're trying to help, but like they'll give you the shittiest advice possible, or even worse, they'll present themselves as someone who wants to help and then they'll get you to buy their $500 course to like realize your true potential, and then not really like do anything for you, but they're trying to milk you for money. So like you really need to be careful about who you trust with your well-being, especially if it's on the internet, because you're never actually going to meet that person, most likely. So yeah, like the lack of role models, skewed standards that are perpetrated throughout our culture, throughout our media. I mean, pride parades, like all the DEI stuff, you know. There's definitely a lot of like far left-wing stuff, not to get too deep into politics, but there's a lot of stuff on the far left that's very toxic, but it presents itself as something very like benign or very positive or very, progressive, like going forward, all people should be represented and everyone deserves a voice. And that sounds wonderful, but a lot of the voices that the left claims to represent are actually quite hollow and quite in need of help, and we're not ready to admit that for whatever reason. So yeah, I guess that's a political tangent, but I think when it comes, like, with all this talk of values and, I mean, Mark Carney wrote a book on values, so it's definitely a good time to talk about that. We really need to decide what our values are and really follow them like a guide, and to really use those values to shape a goal and to follow that goal as a higher paradigm, and to use that to guide our decisions and to turn to that when we feel lost in life. And that's not my idea. That's something I've learned from Jordan Peterson, to be completely honest.
I see another problem with values. A lot of us don't even know what our real values are because we're so just follow the herd mindset kind of thing. Just follow whatever's popular. Like you see all these kids with the same exact broccoli looking haircut everywhere. They listen to the same music, dress all the same, like. But where did it all start? Like who is determining the trends? Like I've always like wondered like who was deciding, who was the first person, this patient zero that started the trend of the fucking broccoli heads and like baggy pants. Like baggy pants are coming back. It's very, very interesting. But back to values, like they don't really. I mean, even me speaking personally from high school, I definitely sort of try to discover who I was, like what my values were, what did I actually give a shit about. I didn't know any of that. Like I just followed for like the first 3-4 years of high school. That's basically most of it. I just followed the trends too, like just observing what was popular and then just trying different styles, different mannerism, listening to different music, trying to discover who I was. But I found that I did not sort of like none of them.
I think we have to start the engine to get the light back on.
All right, bear with.
Alright. Welcome back. Now that damn camera's gonna start making sounds again.
Oh yeah. But anyways, back to the So a lot of us are lost, and we sort of just follow what's the most popular to fit in. But that's a really big issue. Like I think schools should have some sort of deep thinking courses or classes to help us find what our actual values are, and to actually not even to discover what they are, actually help us to like. There it goes again. Shut the fuck up. It's not contributing to anything. You're literally just telling us, oh, we have files recorded in the camera. Like, fuck.
Can you shut that shit off, or it's like
I don't really know. It's just, it's really fucking annoying. Anyways, So they should not only help us find what our actual values are from like a younger age, we should actually sort of help us stay true to those values instead of just following or just going with the flow, going with what's popular because we're scared to admit what our values actually are.
We're scared to be different.
I was scared to admit that I actually like dubstep, and I don't give a fuck about rap music, but everyone around me was listening to rap. I don't give a fuck about rap. Rap does not, especially modern rap. Shut the fuck up, seriously. This camera, oh my god, this dash cam.
I know, it's pretty annoying.
Okay, yeah, I do not like modern rap. Modern rap is just mumble rap, and the beat is all the same. It's like four chords, if even that. It just goes on a loop. So actually, I much prefer more instrumental or dubstep even. Even dubstep, I felt like it was better. It's more like music than like even rap music.
Yeah. So would you say you're comfortable now in, like, if you knew what you liked in life, would you be comfortable just having that, claiming that as your own identity?
It's weird now as an adult. I have less of an issue admitting what I actually like and like sticking true to my values because there isn't that much of an audience. Like back in high school, there were like a few hundred people all around you for like 8-9 hours a day, and they all you care so much about what they think. You just care so much about trying to fit in and to be liked and all that, and be popular. Or try your best to be as popular as you can. That there's a lot more outside influence back in high school. Whereas now is like, for sure, I do go to work a few days a week, but I really feel like none of them give a shit. I think I finally experienced and know deeply that people around you don't actually give a shit.
That's right.
So
they don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit. It's like, so whatever you like or whatever your values are, it's completely fine. Yeah. Because first of all, it's your own life, and you should stay true to yourself. Because if you don't, you would live a whole life being a shell of a person instead of a person. If you just follow the herd, you're basically a mindless zombie.
Well, yeah, I mean, also, if you're constantly buying shit that everyone thinks is popular, I would also put that in category of like being a consumerist drone almost. And yeah, like, this is the message here, as Tony said, was that nobody cares about what you like more than you do. Because a lot of people mostly care about what they like and what their close friends and family think. But very few people actually care what you like because they have so many other things to worry about. And also, like, we are a diverse species. I mean, with all this talk of diversity, we're gonna have different opinions, different preferences, different musical tastes, whatever. That should be perfectly fine.
And if for some whatever reason, like a person or a select few give so much about, like, have so much fucks about you, or like they judge you, or like they make fun of you for what you actually like, that means they don't fucking have a life, okay? Or they don't have something else better to fucking do. So like, honestly, like, fuck them. They don't even know who they are, really. They don't even know what their values are properly. So they're just like using you to make some sort of meaning out of their life by making fun of you. But honestly, they probably just don't have a life. And like, you should not worry about what they think about you at all.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with that. To some degree. So like, I did say that like, people around you don't really give a fuck, but I think on some level I still like, you should care about how you present yourself.
Oh, for sure, yeah, but that doesn't mean you should constantly like hyper fixate on people's reactions.
Yeah.
Like, you should have an idea of what the expectations are. Like, you can't walk into work buck naked and be like, oh, I'm expressing myself, I don't care what you think. But if you put on a plaid shirt and some jeans and you get a few stares and it's a pretty chill office, then that's not a big deal. You know, so there's certain limits and certain expectations, yeah, but also if you want to like try on a new style, or you want to try listening to some music, like even like in public, you want to try some new material or whatever, go for it. You know, like there's this quote out there, like, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Because fear, when it's not rational, it just slows you down and it doesn't let you express yourself for who you are. And I'm not saying this about your sexual orientation or your race or your gender or a bunch of things that are fixed and that you have no control over. I'm talking about your style or your tastes or your thoughts or your ideas. I'm talking about those things. Like, if you don't feel comfortable expressing those things that make you unique and who you are and aren't just demographic data, then
Yeah, and
change.
from a woo spiritual perspective, if everybody had the same values, everybody dressed the same, they prefer the same music, eat the same food every day, then there's literally no point for any of this to exist. Because the whole reason that the universe or God created this is to learn about itself. Is the theory, or one of the philosophies, is God basically created individuals, billions of them, to have all different experiences individually, so that it has the broadest spectrum of data to basically use to learn about itself and expand. Like, the purpose of the universe is expansion. So if everybody was doing the same thing, basically it wouldn't expand. Everything would just stay the same forever, and there's no point in doing any of that. So individualism is actually very important. And every person has a different experience, good or bad. It's all necessary for the expansion of the universe, and for God to learn more about itself through the lenses of each human being, or each creature even.
Actually, yeah, it's a fantastic that's a really cool concept. Yeah, I didn't even know about that. Yeah, that's really something there. Yeah. Only thing I would add about like expansion is that, like you said, the universe expands, and that's the purpose of it. And maybe the purpose of a human being is to also expand. Like,
Yeah, because we have our little universe in ourselves, or whatever.
yeah,
I've heard that.
that's a great theory, because maybe what others would call a universe inside oneself, other people would call a soul or a spirit. And perhaps the goal of that spirit is to enhance itself with new experiences, new ideas.
Oh yeah. So is that the purpose of life?
Well, that is an extremely deep question that millions, if not billions, of people are asking.
Oh yeah.
And to tackle that, you can't really do that in a little podcast in a Toyota Corolla on YouTube. You can't really.
We
Tackle that.
can touch on it.
We can definitely skim it.
Discuss some
We can rub
philosophies
it. Yeah,
of what the purpose of life is.
we can.
Like
rub
we
on it.
earlier again we were briefly talking about it. So one side believes that you create the purpose, you create the meaning, or you discover your fucking true calling, and then just do that for the rest of your life, and you're golden.
Alright, that sounds kind of like one thing though. That's.
And the other side another philosophy, and I again watch the YouTube video. I probably put the link in the description. But discuss again, polling from Eastern philosophy, Buddhism. Basically saying that the purpose of life is life itself. Is basically, instead of trying to spend your life figuring out what you should be doing, or trying to figure out what the purpose of life is, basically it's saying there is purpose in whatever that's in front of you already. So, which basically will lead to a life of living in a way that you're 100% present in whatever that you're doing. Because if you're constantly trying to figure out, like, what should I be doing? Or am I doing it right or wrong? Or trying to find a perfect life purpose or true calling, that's all just in your head. It's like trying to figure out something that hasn't happened yet. And for some people, they spend their entire life doing that and never find out what their true calling or life purpose really was. So instead of that, Buddhism is saying, stop doing all that. Stop all the seeking. Stop trying to find the purpose. Instead, just fucking be where you are right now. Because with the present moment, you have more power to do anything, to do things, or have a more impact on yourself or life itself. So the purpose is not something that you try to figure out or find or wait until it just comes to you randomly, like an epiphany. Is saying that there is purpose in the present moment, in whatever you're doing right now, whatever is in front of you. And for me, it hit pretty hard. It's basically at work, which I hate. I work at a grocery store cutting deli meats for people. So basically for the last week, every passing minute I've been like, I've had this feeling like I don't think this is my true calling. Absolutely not. I don't think I should be doing any of this. Like, this is below me even. But then after I saw the video, I was like, actually I have a sort of flipped upside down. It's like there is meaning and purpose in whatever what I'm doing right now, even just slicing meats for different customers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I brought 100% presence into whatever I'm doing, there's purpose in that.
Yeah, it sounds like a very productive philosophy, for sure.
It's like there's meaning to everything that you're experiencing already. It's not something that needs to be discovered. It's already there, right in front of you. Because everything that you see, experience right now is kind of a miracle already.
Well, scientifically, yes.
So, like, the chances of the universe existing, chances of all this phenomenon that they're experiencing right now, that what you call life, is already a fucking miracle. And being present in all of this, there's already meaning in that, and purpose. So again, the purpose of life is life itself. And then the end of the video says something about, like, we should all just live. Like, basically, it's saying we should live every day as if it's our last. And what that means is, like, being fully present in whatever that we're doing. It's not like going crazy every day, spending like your entire life savings on some crazy trip because you're scared that you might die tomorrow. It's not doing something so grand or amazing or like go on a field trip. It's basically just existing 100% every day and being fully present. That's what I took from the video.
Well, this sounds like a brilliant video. Do you remember what it's called? Maybe you can recommend it to the viewers.
It's on the channel Buddhist wisdom. I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, a link in the bio, you know,
Yeah.
as they say. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, it looks like you've got your kind of Buddhist.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not articulating it properly or doing it justice. But that's basically what I sort of took from that video.
Yeah. Well, that's the important part. That kind of stuck with you, and you're explaining it to people, and like I think you've taught me something new, and you've also taught the viewers something new, which I think the creator of that video couldn't ask for more. But to spread that message, and
yeah,
it is a miracle that we're all here, because the conditions for life as we know it to exist are so specific. Like, we need a certain amount of sunlight, a certain temperature range. We need, we're made of cells that need, meat and energy to survive. And, the fact that, the density of the air is perfect for life, and that we're the perfect distance from the sun, so that we don't freeze to death if we're too far away from the sun, and we don't get scorched if we're too close to the sun. And the fact that we have 4 different seasons, and the fact that we can breathe the air because the density is just right. So many things have lined up perfectly so that we can exist. Life as we know it can exist. And we can, slice our deli meat, or we can do our homework, or we can, drive around, or whatever. It's a miracle in and of itself, and we should be more appreciative of that, because in our highest moments and in our lowest moments, we lose sight of the fact that what we've been given is already amazing, and that we should not let it go to waste.
Yeah, my problem was taking all of this for granted, and I was stuck in a depression for a very long time because I expected that I should be somewhere else. I should be doing more with my life, making more money, be in a different, better job. Some of you might say that I'm just adopting this philosophy to cope with my current situation. Sure, that could be the case. But it also helps me to just appreciate the tiniest things that's already happening in my life, instead of seeking for this future that might not ever come or go according to plan. I'm training myself to be 100% present, to appreciate, for example, the sound of the rain hitting the windshield, something as tiny as that, and just be fully immersed in that experience.
They can probably hear the rain.
You could probably.
It's a very minor thing, but now that I think about it, it's actually a huge thing that we're all here right now. And another thing, the technology that we have, the fact that this can be recorded and broadcasted to someone living to 10,000 miles away. Our ancestors did not have this. Our ancestors didn't have cars, they had horses. Our ancestors didn't have toilets, they had buckets. Our ancestors, they probably grew wheat or rice, and they had a bland breakfast every day. And yeah, you can go to the supermarket and choose from a dozen cereals that are supposed to please your taste buds in every conceivable way. These things should also not be taken for granted. We live in a time of abundance.
Yeah, and when there's too many options.
Yeah, perhaps we can take that for granted.
No.
The amount of technology and resources we have, and all these scientific breakthroughs, you would think that wealth could be distributed more equally, and poverty could be dealt with, and homelessness and drug addiction would not really be a problem. But I truly believe that if people were all in sync with each other with having the goal of universal happiness, or having a minimum living standard for everyone, which might sound like radical socialism and a complete destruction of society as we know it, but if we were all in sync on that, to just take care of one another, then I think we could, I wouldn't say we'd live in a utopia, but we'd live in a much better world. You know, but even with the one that we have, with all of its flaws and all of its wicked perversions, we are still lucky to be here. And we should remember that more often.
There's a concept that behind greed is fear. It's fear of loss, of like believing that you have to hoard every last drop of resource. Because you fear that someone will take it or away from you, or you will not have enough. And that's part of the reason why there's such a gap between the wealthy and the basically struggling to put food on the table, or the people who are starving. The select few, like the 1%, actually have a lot of fear. And they might be greedy and might be holding on to like a high percentage of the resources on this planet. But behind all that is just fear.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense on some level. Another thing that could contribute to this is when people have luxury, when they have a nice house, a nice car, you know, 10, 20, $100 million in the bank, they fear so much to lose that and to live an actually normal life and to let go of their fortunes and all their great fancy things. There's a genuine fear in that, and it's a very pervasive fear that doesn't, it lingers for a very long time, probably for the course of your life. But fear, to fear something that can't really harm your soul is almost like being enslaved.
But that's the belief that there is only this. They don't believe that there is a soul. They believe that this is the only life. This anywhere like the average of 60 to 80 years of time that they have here is all they will have. That's why they have to just hoard and consume and take as much as they can and hold on to that, because there's nothing else to hold on to. They don't believe in an afterlife. But they don't believe in the concept of soul, so they believe that they have to just do as much and have as much in this lifetime now. And that also leads to a lot of greed.
Well, yeah, perhaps some rich people do think like that. And for those that do have that mindset, it really goes to show that you can have all the money in the world, but like your soul or the fabric of your being is completely empty. And no amount of money can ever fill that void.
But they should also know that when they die, they can't really take any of it with them. So why do they hold on to it?
They want to enjoy it for as long as possible.
A lot of them have way more money than enough to even just to enjoy their entire life.
Yeah, they can't enjoy all of it, but they hoard it so that they can maintain their lifestyle in as much safety and comfort as possible, I would say. Yeah, so it's been like 44 minutes at this point. Maybe we can start to wrap it up. Do you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I mean, life purpose is a very big topic. And I don't even know how to dive deeper into that or to explore different philosophies, concepts. we can go down the whole list. There's like, there's from like hedonism or Buddhism, or like believing that none of like the NPC theory, that you're the main character and everybody else is NPC.
Don't believe that, please. That's a dog shit philosophy. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, because if you do believe that, then it's like GTA. You can be an asshole to everyone, and it doesn't matter because none of them actually have a soul and a conscience and a consciousness, and like it's all like bullshit.
That's basically. It feels like that's what every sociopath believes.
That's actually a fair point. Yeah, to some extent, if you're like extremely narcissistic and sociopathic, and you have no regard for the well-being of others, then that mindset might be something you've already adopted.
Yeah.
But that mindset should be severely discouraged and treated with the utmost, definitely treated like very seriously, and needs to be dealt with as soon as possible, because that mindset can create murderers, it can create people who just want to cause destruction, people with just a void that needs to be filled by constantly hurting others, like so many things. It's a very dangerous mindset.
No, and then even hedonism, like you mentioned.
Yes, the H word.
That's also one lifestyle or philosophy as well, just a way of living.
Like just being a victim of your own short-term pleasures without regard for any kind of overarching narrative or any level of decency or respect for just like without having any values whatsoever. Yeah, it's an empty, very primitive and not rewarding at all, and it's an unsustainable life.
Yeah, it's unrewarding. I've had phases of hedonism, and after every act of indulgence, it's just emptiness. And then you have to fill it up again with another short-term pleasure, and another one, and another one. And it's definitely not sustainable because everything costs money.
Yeah. But like, okay, we're gonna have to wrap it up soon, but like, even if we had all the money in the world to do those things, that would still be unsustainable for the spirit, because eventually if you do that action enough times, you're going to get bored with it, and then you're going to have to find the next thing, and that's probably going to be even more extreme and even more extreme and even more extreme, until you end up doing something extremely pervasive and vulgar and disgusting that you in the past wouldn't even dream of doing. And
what did he do?
That could be Diddy's.
What Diddy did do, or did
that
do?
Could be Diddy's path, actually. If we're bringing up Diddy, that could
Epstein
be his
Island, or
Epstein. Who knows? Maybe like the most depraved celebrities in Hollywood have followed this exact path.
Oh yeah.
Of hedonism,
for sure.
without restraint and without control, like uncontrolled hedonism. That, because the main constraint of it is being able to afford certain things and not having the mental aptitude to say no to yourself. With those two conditions, you can descend into a spiral of doing horrific things to keep yourself entertained and to keep pushing the boundaries and crossing a line, then going and crossing another line, and over and over and over until you end up doing the most heinous shit that humanity's ever seen, like some really twisted, sick stuff. And to you, it's just another day at the office, but to the rest of society, it's a horrible nightmare. That's the path of hedonism, I would say. But again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not Jordan Peterson. This is just a personal thought. Make of it what you will.
Yep. Everything we say is for entertainment purposes only, and take everything we say with a big tablespoon of salt.
But don't completely dismiss it, because we've actually been through some shit. So
oh yeah, definitely.
we're not talking out of our ass.
Like at our age, we've been through some crazy shit.
Mm.
It's
Yeah, we both lived like in Vancouver, and it's not like Compton or anything, but like, if you want to live 40 years in 20, come to Vancouver. You'll see what we're on about.
Alright. It's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah, straight out of Van, you know. Yeah, stay safe out there. Don't lose your mind, and yeah, just keep it real.
Yeah, and until next episode.
All right, you do the honors.
Alright.